Hello, Galleons. MK here, and today we have a cool opportunity to have an interview with the CEO of Star Atlas. And today we have here the CEO of Star Atlas, no other than Sir Michael Wagner. Sir, please introduce yourself.
Hey, MK. Yeah, Michael here. Really great to be chatting with you right now. Excited for the conversation. I am the co-founder and CEO of Automata. That's the studio that's building Star Atlas. I've been around in crypto for a long time, going back to 2013. Come from a traditional finance background, so previously worked in investment management and portfolio management. Uh, Interestingly enough, got my entry point into crypto through a longtime friend of mine from my high school days, wherein I grew up playing computer games at LAN parties. That was our high school experience, and
Mhm.
it was largely playing computer games at LAN parties, eating pizza, drinking Mountain Dew, and so really cool guys, as you can tell.
Of
um,
course.
but in any case, I was on a bike ride one year in 2013, and this friend of mine had mentioned that you could mine cryptocurrencies using GPUs. And given my experience and background in building all my own gaming PCs as I was growing up, it was a
Mhm.
pretty natural process for me to start building out these mining rigs to mine script coins. Now, timing was pretty bad. This was actually just before the collapse of Mt. Gox, the
Mm.
largest Bitcoin exchange at the time. And
Yes.
so we entered into a couple of year bear market, but I really stuck with it. I saw the potential in the technology. And by
Mhm.
2015, I had gone full time crypto, launched my first company in the space in 2016. That was a crypto and cannabis endeavor, providing financial solutions and banking solutions to the legal cannabis industry within the United States. That was called Tokes. And then in mid 2020, on the front side of the pandemic, conceptualized and launched Star Atlas with a couple of co-founders, and here we are today.
Wow, that's really that's really a few years back, and it was not yet the boom of the crypto space right now. So moving forward, guys, we are going to talk about here Sir Atlas and not the story of Sir Michael. Okay, so our first question here, sir, would be the visions and the current focus or the current objective and a roadmap of Sir Atlas. So here's my first question. Right now, sir, on the recent town hall AMA that we had are really fruitful and really a lot of things just came out there and really surprised, particularly the Project Galia. So currently, what is the ultimate vision and the vision of Star Atlas right now, sir?
Well, the ultimate vision is a really big one. We've always been known to be ambitious. I would say it's no less than being kind of the next generation of a fully immersive 3D internet. And so I think that's one possible definition for the way people are describing metaverses or the metaverse experience. But if I were to maybe kind of take a step back from that really long term, really ambitious goal, what we're building is a AAA grand strategy space exploration MMO. And we're doing that in Unreal Engine 5. We're building on the Solana blockchain. And to me, what's really necessary here, what's really important for us to validate is that adding crypto and adding blockchain mechanics to a high quality video game can produce and create a sustainable real world economy. I think one of the things that's inspirational about the Philippines in particular for me is that you all essentially demonstrated just how powerful and potential play to earn could be with Axie Infinity, right? And YGG, and
Yes.
I'm a good friend with Gabby, and in so many ways, it was inspirational to see that success and see that traction, and it was really was a proof of concept that this idea could work. And so, I mean, big picture is to make a really fun, engaging, massively multiplayer online experience, one that I believe can persist not just for a few years or a decade, but 2 decades, 3 decades, or who knows, maybe it's something that can evolve for 100 years plus. In so many ways, I think of Star Atlas as kind of being this digital society that we're in the process of forming today. And at the center of all of that is this really entertaining gaming experience. But again, to kind of emphasize, I think the gaming experience is critical. I think that's a massive component of what we're doing. But I also think that our ability to generate and create a new sustainable economy with labor market opportunities for people all over the world is part and parcel to our vision.
Mhm. And to be honest, one of my really standards in playing a game is when your emotion affects, it's usually a good game. So when I saw the Project Galia, I'm really amazed that I'm just expecting speculating things, and then it just happened in the screen, and I'm really excited for your Project Galia. Now moving forward, sir, in the past years, do you think what is the most difficult part Sir Atlas is facing?
Well, there have been many ups and downs, both from a development and delivery standpoint and also from a financial standpoint. I think a lot of people are probably aware of the exposure that we had to FTX in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
That created significant challenges for us financially. Not to mention, we were in the middle of a bear market, which continued largely
Mm-hmm.
through most of 2023. And when you're building something as large as Star Atlas, it has quite a substantial budget and burn rate. You're hiring a lot of people, running very big teams with very expensive personnel. So, I, I would point to that period of time, that 2022, late 2022 to call it late 2023, of being quite challenging. But ultimately, I think one of the hardest things that I've had to face is um, just figuring out how we can set and level appropriate expectations for development timelines. Oftentimes, we've fallen victim of ourselves to getting really excited about something that's up and coming, and communicating and talking about
Mm-hmm.
that thing, and in turn getting the community very excited about that thing, and then having delays for one reason or another where we don't ultimately ship the product when we thought we were going to ship the product. And yeah, that results in frustration, right? Community is like very excited to get something, and then it's not
Mm-hmm.
there for them. So I feel like, in terms of challenges that we faced over time, more commonly, I would say that just managing expectations and delivery timelines has probably been a bigger obstacle, because you're really engaged in human emotion and all of that,
Yes.
and it's quite widespread. And I would actually say that that is kind of a message that I would share with any founder or any person starting or producing a game, or any company whatsoever, is
Mhm.
dealing with the on the interpersonal level with people that are supporting you is can be quite hard.
Yes, of course. It's really one of the things really essential here in the community in on in the Web three. Now, sir, in the current progress of Sir Atlas, we right now in the roadmap.
Well, we're still quite early in the roadmap, in spite of having been building now since 2021.
Mhm.
We're still in the process of building out a lot of fundamental systems. Now, when I say fundamental systems, these are gameplay mechanics, gameplay systems, design systems, development systems, all of which go into the future big picture and full vision of what Star Atlas is going to become. But to maybe give you an example of that, things like flight mechanics, or
Mhm.
unique flight mechanics on every single ship, various character motion systems. One of the things that I think you've commented on in the past, and enjoyed, was Surge gameplay. That's the third person team based shooter mode. And
Yeah.
we have we have jetpacking around, we have
Mhm.
a knee slide mechanic, we have a dodge or a dash mechanic, and then of course, your typical locomotion. But a lot of this stuff is still very fundamental to the game, and we have to refine all of that. And so ultimately, that's where we're at now. We do have a number of experiences that are available today on Epic Game Store, and so predominantly that centers around the showroom concept. But within the showroom, there are a number of different modes, including experimental modes. So you can primarily single player engage in air flight, which is time trial based. You can do hover racing. You can do a flight trainer and combat arena. You can do combat racing against bots. You can do third person shooter against bots. And then we do, of course, occasionally have those events with our multiplayer stress testing of the metagravity technology. And so all of those experiences are available for you today.
Mm.
In addition to that, though, I do want to mention that we do have a couple of other product lines in development, and one
Mm-hmm.
of those is what we call Sage. Now, Sage is Star
Yes.
Atlas Golden Era. That's the 2D RTS MMO that's in browser. This is where the full economy is active today, and this is also where all of our fully on-chain gaming logic
Mm-hmm.
exists right now. Now, Sage, uh, I don't want to diminish the aesthetic of the product. I think it's beautiful for what it is, but
Yes.
it's in stark contrast to what you would experience in the fully
Mm-hmm.
immersive 3D world in Unreal
Mm-hmm.
Engine. But that happens to be our most popular product right now, and I think it really is because that's where the economy lives. And things like fleet formation, fleet management, inventory
Yes.
management, mining, extraction, crafting, and the Atlas rewards. That's where all those all live today. And so we're seeing a lot of people that engage in that every day, and it's been pretty steady, pretty stable in terms of
Mm-hmm.
daily active users. But really excited about what we have coming up with Fleet Command, which is essentially
Yes.
taking all of those mechanics and bringing them into Unreal Engine.
And one of the things I really loved here is all of the projects right now that is currently available in the market is connected on the Unreal Engine game. I really love that part. So, in terms of economy, as you mentioned, how is Star Atlas going to enable the play to earn aspect for the people who are looking to make profits while playing the game, aside from the Sage?
There are going to be virtually limitless numbers of opportunities from my perspective on ways that players can make money. Now, Sage is, I would say, straightforward on the surface level, but quite complex underneath the hood. There's quite a lot of strategy that needs to take place in this
Yes.
game to ensure that you are maintaining profitability.
Mhm.
One misstep, one wrong move, and you could see your fleet running out of fuel in the middle of space,
Mhm.
and you're forced to self-destruct and lose all of the
Yes.
cargo in that fleet. Now, that doesn't happen all that often, but it can occasionally happen. Now, I would mention two things here. One is gameplay mechanics that release in the future that are associated with the Atlas emission curve or the inflation curve. And that could be things like hopping into your ship, going out, completing a mission, clearing a base, saving a hostage, or capturing a bounty, bringing that
Mhm.
bounty back to the central space station and turning that
Mhm.
in, and then getting an Atlas reward for doing that. Of course, I do think the logistics, freighting, transportation, mining, and crafting gameplay loops and refining gameplay loops. I think there will be plenty of opportunity for
Mhm.
people who want to get engaged in that element. To give you an example of that, it could be um, operating in one of the medium risk zones of the game where you're mining an asteroid, a particular
Mhm.
resource. You transport that back to a refinery, you turn that into a refined material and maybe a
Mhm.
compound material, and then use that as a crafting input. Maybe you want to be a ship manufacturer, for example, and you need to
Mhm.
collect various resources from all over the galaxy or trade for those resources from all over the galaxy as recipe inputs for crafting a ship. Now,
Yes.
those would come from the Atlas emission curve. I do have a point on that as well that I want to come back to, but I would also mention that in some of the upcoming competitive gameplay modes, I'm very interested in introducing um, uh, skill-based betting components. And so,
Mhm.
you could think of yourself in our racing gameplay, our
Mhm.
multiplayer racing gameplay that's coming up, uh, uh, paying a fee into a pool to join the race. Maybe it's 100 Atlas, maybe it's 1,000 Atlas, right?
Mhm.
Everybody that wants to race has to pay
Mhm.
the same 1,000 Atlas fee, and
Mhm.
then you go out and race. And whoever
Mhm.
wins, or the top 3 or the top 10, they split that prize pool amongst themselves. And so if you're a really good gamer, and you've mastered the movement mechanics of the game, you can actually earn money by competing against other players.
Mhm.
Now, this is really powerful because it's non-inflationary. This is not introducing new Atlas to the economy. It's actually just players competing
Mhm.
against one another and effectively betting against each other.
Yes.
Um, so that's one big thing. And then finally, just on other ways that players can earn in the future, is that we're really thinking about Star Atlas sustainability as being a producer consumer um, uh, zero sum, if you will, economy,
Mhm.
which is to say that perhaps there's a player that wants to come in and purchase a skin or purchase resources without
Mhm.
having to go through the effort of mining, refining, transportation, movement, and then refueling of their ship. That maybe it's a player that just wants to get involved in racing, which will require a fuel consumption cost, but they don't want to go engage in the mining, extraction, and crafting gameplay loop, so they buy that from another player. Well, the key point there is we as a studio are not selling fuel to any of the players. In fact, the only
Mhm.
way fuel is created is when players in the game are extracting these resources and producing it. And so now what we do is match the producer with the consumer, the person who wants the convenience of just having fuel, buying that from another player. And so that's where opportunity, I think, will flourish in the future is people that are able to establish a niche for themselves and a specialization for themselves. And then their output from their gameplay can be sold to other players who
Mhm.
need to use it or want to use it or don't mind spending a little bit of extra money every month for the convenience of having that service.
Mhm. Okay. Wow. It's just that's a lot. You explained a lot, sir, and really excited for that one. And right now, sir, 2024 for the next question. 2024 is the year for Web3 airdrops and what you call the play to airdrop. Do you think Sir Atlas should consider this to attract more players?
It's something we've talked about. To be honest with you, I think we're relatively mature as a studio now. We've been around for a while. We've been around for 4 years. I think it's difficult to introduce mechanics like that are inflationary in nature
Mhm.
at this stage of our product because it can negatively impact all of our existing user base. Now, of course, they could potentially participate in that as well. Uh, However, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of using the play to airdrop concept. I think it's really largely a user acquisition channel. These game studios are
Mhm.
doing this to get an audience interested in their product, and there will be some level of retention as a
Yes.
result of that. But the
Mhm.
reality is, the vast majority of the people that are participating don't really have any interest in engaging in the game in the first place. They
Of
are
course.
interested in the reward, and so they will come and harvest the reward, and then they'll move on and do the next thing. And to me, that's just not a healthy, organic way of growing
Mhm.
a user base. We want people who want to come to Star Atlas because they're excited about the game and they want to
Mhm.
enjoy the game. And we've built out good incentive mechanisms and economic structures within the game. So I don't necessarily think we'll see a play to airdrop from Star Atlas coming, although maybe in some light format. In our Surge tournament
Mhm.
that was back in
Yes.
February, we did
Mhm.
drop some rewards, a little bit of Atlas to people, and then crew members, depending
Yes.
on how well you performed. So, things like that, or skins or cosmetics, I think I could see us dropping. I'm just more conservative on the actual, financial resource side.
Mhm. And I think that's one of the most interesting part I really love way back then on the Surge playtest. Really enjoying playing a lot, and a lot of on our community really love the reward that they get. And for the last question, sir, for this video, what can people expect from Sir Atlas for the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, we have a really exciting Q3 and Q4 lined up, so I love this question. The town hall that you referenced, we just hosted. I'm
Hmm.
already forgetting if it was last week or the week
Yeah,
before. Time
I think
flies.
yeah, it was the first week of July.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
um, we announced some major updates to the product roadmap. So, what that consists of is Fleet Command. Talked a little bit about that earlier with you here, but Fleet Command is essentially the real time strategy MMO gameplay mechanics that live in Sage today, and that fully on-chain gaming logic that lives in Sage today being ported over into Unreal Engine 5. So you get the RTS high quality graphics of Unreal Engine with the Sage economy. We're also focused on some enhancements to third person shooter. I would note here, by the way, our longer term goal is to transition into a first person shooter. Um,
Ooh.
so we are just working with third person shooter right now because it
Mm-hmm.
happens to be easier on the art team on the production side of the business to
Mm-hmm.
roll out with third person shooter, but eventually we will be first person shooter. Um, and so we're going to be bringing out different game modes like a VIP style game, team deathmatch, maybe a
Oh,
capture the flag,
oh.
gun game. Love gun game myself. I don't know if that's one
Mm-hmm.
you've played before, but
Ah, I
uh,
really love that.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also, so Surge originally was this, really
Mm-hmm.
high user concurrency team-based gameplay. We had 1,000 people in that Surge stress test. We're actually going to be reducing that down in these different game modes, so you can have something like a 4v4v4 or
Mm-hmm.
a 6v6v6. So much smaller, instance-based, um, just very sweaty, twitchy, quick gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, the two other major things that we have coming out that we're looking at demoing at Breakpoint in Singapore this year. That's in September.
Mm-hmm.
Is what we call Project Rose Garden and Project Gallia. Now,
Oh.
Project Rose Garden is the ONI Central Space Station. This is the social hub of the Star Atlas universe.
Oh,
It's one of the
okay.
three CSSs.
Mm-hmm.
And so players already have purchased land claims. And so part of what we're
Wow.
rolling out is the ability
Mm-hmm.
to claim your personal space on the Central Space Station. So it's your real estate, it's your home in the
Mm-hmm.
Star Atlas universe.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be an auction and a bidding process for particular lots. So if you want, you want
Oh,
the lot that's on the
okay.
beach, now's the time
Yeah.
to get in and buy that lot because, before it gets wildly popular.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Um, and otherwise just some like minimal social interaction kind of fun stuff on the
Mm-hmm.
css, but part of that is an extension into deep space exploration. And so that's what we're calling Gallia. Now, Gallia, you can hop into your spaceship from the
Mm-hmm.
CSS, fly out into space seamlessly. I think this is one of the coolest things that we're doing is
Yes.
there's no transition time, no
Mm-hmm.
instancing between atmosphere and outer space. You can just fly off the planet straight into space and then go land on another planet. And so that's what we're rolling out with Gallia, where you can start to go explore some other territories and some other celestial bodies and go complete a little mission or, go
Mm-hmm.
capture a pirate den and then, come back to the CSS. So those are
Mm-hmm.
all of the major things that we're working on just for gameplay. I'll mention one other thing here, and there's quite a bit more I could run on with, but
Mm-hmm.
one other thing that is in the works right now, and I think it is particularly attractive to this audience, is a fleet rental system, as well as
Mm-hmm.
working on mechanics for pay over time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the fleet rental system, this could be employed for a scholarship program. So if
Mm-hmm.
somebody has a portfolio of ships, they want somebody to operate those ships on their behalf.
Mm-hmm.
You can use the fleet rental system to do that completely permissionless and also no risk of the user's assets when loaning these out because it's all
Mm-hmm.
a wallet permission system.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the pay over time is a mechanic. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this one yet, but the idea is essentially like financing a car. With
Mm,
pay over
okay.
time, you can receive a ship. You
Mm-hmm.
make say monthly payments, which you
Mm-hmm.
pay based on going in and playing the game, and then
Mm-hmm.
after a year or after 18 months or so, you have the ship paid off, and now you own it outright. And so I think it's just ways that we can lower the barrier to entry and make it so everyone can get into Star Atlas and start playing and
Mm-hmm.
start earning and progress along that experience curve.
Wow, that's really a huge plan for this coming few months. And really excited to try. Especially, this is the first thing that I heard. I'm still reviewing the last AMA replay, and this is the first time I read the Project Rose Garden. It's really impressive. I love it, and most especially the Gallia, the Project Gallia. Really love the atmosphere of the raiding some planets and getting the materials. And that's it, sir. That's it for our first part of this video. That's the focus of Sir Atlas. And again, this video is focused only on the game updates and the roadmaps of Star Atlas. If you find this video helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, and follow our socials that you can find in the description of this video. That's it. See you, Galleons, on the next video.
Thanks, MK.